Om Sam Saraswati Namaha Namaste. On page 194 of the book called Shrima, the Guru and the Goddess, we left off with name number 63 of the 300 names of Lalita. And she's beloved, and she's playful, and she's beautiful, and she's really a darling on page 194. I hope. Yes, that looks like right. And the 63rd name was who is served by Lakshmi and Saraswati, and we decided that Saraswati is the goddess of knowledge and Lakshmi the goddess of wealth, and if you call the goddess of knowledge, she'll bring the wealth. And that's really fun. So Lalita, the beautiful, playful, beloved, is served by Lakshmi and Saraswati. Okay. Okay, and name number 64 is Lakini, who manifests desires of the world. So she's the manifestation of all the desires of the world, or she's the one most desired in this world, or she has, if you put all of the desires of the world at her feet, then everything is accomplished. And that's total fulfillment. And who wears a female form? That's easy. Whose luster is like a pomegranate flower. And did you ever see how red the pomegranate flower is, Darim? It's one of the grapefruits in India. It's so red. It's like more red than the hibiscus flower. It's got that fire engine red to it. And whose forehead bears the mark of the fruit of truth. The fruit of truth. The fruit of truth is the mark of the fruit of truth. Let's see what that is. Satfal, Kal, Lalanti Kal, Satfal. Well, her forehead and her lalat, she has the mark of the kala of the Satkal. Her forehead bears the mark of the fruit of truth. Who is worshipped in the eye in the center of the forehead? That's probably where the fruit of the truth lies. That's the third eye in the Ajna chakra, where we receive all of our orders, all the Ajna. So when she gives us orders and she organizes us and directs us and tells us what to do, we usually get a perception, a clarity in the third eye. Whose divine body radiates the auspicious goal. Who is the goal of the lords of millions of creations? Anantakoti, Lakshakoti, Andanayika. So all the lords, every one of these creations has a lord. And each one is presided over by an Indra. And in order to become an Indra, you have to do 1,000 sacrifices, 1,000 yajnas. Mom, how many have we done? Koto yajna korichi?
Maybe 94.
94 yajnas? 94? In 1,000 days? Oh, okay. Well, that's a good number. We've got a few more to do. Who is the object of all search, or the definition of all goals? So if you take all your goals and merge them into the one goal from which you don't want to stray, you really want to accomplish this goal. She is the definition of all the goals, the goal of all goals, and who is undefinable, who has attained all desires, who is the embodiment of tenderness, whose forehead is adorned with musk, who wears a long pearl necklace. Do you have a pearl necklace tonight?
No.
No?
Yeah, I have different.
No.
Coral.
A coral? You have another one with mukta, don't you?
Yeah.
You have a pearl necklace, don't you, Rook? You do? Are you wearing it?
No.
Oh, well, you've got some work to do. So she has a coral, a pearl necklace. A long pearl necklace. Who has given birth to the one with the big belly? All right. I can take a hint. Who is accessible to devotees?
I think Kaushiki has big belly.
No.
No?
No, she's got other great parts. I get the prize for the biggest belly. Who is modest and humble? Who is not subject to dissolution? So there's creation, preservation, dissolution, transformation. She doesn't change. She's the changeless reality, so she doesn't dissolve. Who is the form of Hrim? Who resides in Hrim? Remember we said Ha was the gross body perceivable through the senses, Ra the subtle body conceivable in the mind, E the causal body known through intuition or meditation, Anuswar is the perfection of all that can be perceived through the senses, conceived in the mind, known through intuition and beyond. That's the body of Maya. And she resides in Hrim, who loves Hrim. And Hrim is the name of Maya. And we talked about Maya in Kadi Vidya as three forms of Maya. There's the Maya of the causal body, and the Maya of the subtle body, and the Maya of the gross body. And in the gross body, Maya is the Maya of Shankya, which is the many looking to the many, forgetting about the one. And the Maya of Tantra in the subtle body is the many looking to the one, and the one blessing the many. And the Maya of the causal body is the Maya of Vedanta, the one in harmony with her own self. Who loves Hrim, whose Bij mantra is Hrim, whose mantra is Hrim, who is defined as Hrim. Who loves the recitation of the mantra Hrim, who is the essence of Hrim, who shines with Hrim, who has the character of Hrim, who is propitiated by the syllable Hrim, who holds Hrim in her womb, who is called by the syllable Hrim. Hrim, 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 Hrim. Hello. Who is spoken of as Hrim, who is worshipped as Hrim, whose place is in Hrim, who is known by Hrim, who is contemplated as Hrim, who is Hrim, who is the embodiment of Hrim. And that brings us to 100 names. And now we begin the H's again. Akara Rupa Aladrit. Pujita Karinekshana Haraprika Hararadya Hari Brahminda Bandita Akara, who is the form of Ha, who is worshipped by those with the capacity to cultivate. Hal Chalache, whose eyes are like a fawn, who is the beloved of Shiva, who is pleased by Shiva, who is worshipped by Vishnu, Brahma, and Indra, who is served by he who is mounted upon a horse, Hayarura. There were many mounted on a horse at Hayagriv, who had the horse's head, and of course Kalki comes on a horse, who is offered the horse sacrifice. He is a Hayamid or Ashwamedh, who rides upon a lion, who rides upon a swan, who slays demons, who nullifies the effects of all sins, even murder, Hatya Adi Papnashini, who is served by the sun and other beings of heaven, whose elevated breasts are beautiful, who delights in covering her body with a garment made of elephant's hide, whose body is smeared with turmeric and saffron, who is worshipped by the sun and other immortals, who is the friend of Vishnu and Krishna, who is the knowledge of the Hadi mantra, the mantra which begins with the letter Ha, which was revealed to Lopamudra. So remember, Agastya got the Kadi mantra, and Lopamudra got the Hadi mantra, and Srima Shorashi got the Kahadi mantra. So Kadi is Kai Ilarim Hasaka Halarim Sakalarim, and Hadi is Hai Larim Hasaka Halarim Sakalarim, and Kahadi is Kahade Larim Hasaka Halarim Sakalarim. So that is Shorashi, that's the 16-letter mantra, is Kahadi. So Lopamudra, Agastya's wife, Mrs. Agastya, she got the Hadi mantra, which says the Lord Shiva. the supreme male form, is the primary cause of the universe. And Agastya got the Kali mantra, which said that the Divine Mother is the absolute cause. And Shorashi is the 16-lettered mantra that says Shiva and Shakti are both the cause. They are Ardhanarishwar. And remember, it's either Ardhanar Ishwar, she's half male, or Ardhanari Ishwar, or Ishwari. So then she's half female. So she is the Hadi mantra, is the knowledge of the Hadi mantra, and who is in ecstasy with Ha and La. And Ha is the consciousness, and La is manifested existence. Who is the form of Sa? Who is the knower of all? Who is the ruler of all? Well, if she knows, she must rule. Who is all welfare? Who is the doer of all? Who bears and nourishes all? Who destroys all? Who is eternal? Who is without fault? Whose every limb is beautiful? Who is the witness of all? Who is the soul of all? Who grants all happiness, who thrusts all into ignorance. She gives us the delusion, the attachment of egotism and possession. Who is the support of all, who is the existence of all, within whom all bad qualities are prohibited. Varjit. Oh, Varjita. Yeah. They're all prohibited. Who is red with love. Remember, we had Aruna, son of Aruna. Yeah, Aruna is the charioteer of the light of wisdom. He drives the chariot for Surya. And so love that brings the light of wisdom and is the same color as Lalita, like the pomegranate flower, like a hibiscus. Who is the mother of all? Who is the radiance of all that shines? Who is the meaning of Ka? And Ka is the first of the Banjan Barn, consonants. She caused the first of the consonants, she's the cause. Who is the destroyer of time? Who is the ruler of desire? Who is the giver of the objects of desire? Who restores the life of love? Remember when Kamdev was burned to imperceivable cognition. He was burned by Shiva's third eye. He was trying to infect Shiva with passion. He said, you got to marry Parvati in order to save the gods. You got to give us the son that's going to send the illuminator of duality to his room. You got to give us a son. And he said, okay, I'll give you a son, but it doesn't have to be from passion. I can do it from wisdom, from love, from my love as a service to humanity. I'll give you the son, but I don't have to do it from passion. So he burned love, and then she restored him to life. Who is perfect? Who has firm breasts? Who has beautiful hands and thighs? Whose face is like the Lord of all arts? Klanat. She's the Mukhi, the face of the Nat, of the Lord of all attributes, or arts, whose hair surpasses even the darkest cloud, whose glance emits the nectar of compassion, who is the master of the life of he who wears skulls, and that's Shiva, who is the embodiment of kindness, also compassion, Kanta, who has lustrous beauty enhanced by love. Thank you. Whose loving beauty reveals the hibiscus flower, whose speech is an art, whose throat has lines like a conch shell, whose hands are more beautiful than tender leaves, whose arms are like the vines of the wish-fulfilling tree. So you've got this Kalpavriksha, which if you sit under this tree, you get the fulfillment of everything you desire, and her arms are just like the vines of the Kalpavriksha, who wears a tilak of musk upon her forehead, who is the meaning of the mantra Ha, who moves with the grace of a swan, who shines with the radiance of gold, whose breasts are enjoyed by Shiva and Vishnu. Remember, from her right breast comes forth wisdom, and her left breast comes forth devotion, and Shiva is wisdom, and Vishnu is devotion, and they both feed at the breast of the Divine Mother, who is the energy of the universal soul beyond birth and death, who is devoid of defects, who is worshipped by the Lord of the 10 directions, who destroys duality instantly. Mom, would you get to work? Please. Who bestows gladness, who enjoys the offerings of sacrifice, who diminishes the great delusion of the heart, who is pleased by the sacred art of dance, who is the intrinsic nature of the meaning of the Hamsha mantra, which is Soham. Soham is the rhythm of pranayam. So is that. Ha is Ishwar, that is God, or I am that. Aham Brahmasmi, Soham. Who is free from attraction and repulsion, who is happiness, who is born from the same womb as God, who is praised by the Gandharvas, ha ha and hoo hoo, and their brother, he he. They're very happy Gandharvas. Who prevents negative growth, whose heart is a full vessel, who soothes the anger of God, who is expressed by the letter La, who is embraced by worship, who is the supreme ruler of the dissolution, circumstance, and creation of existence, who is pleased with the vision of the dance of life, who is beyond gain and loss, whose command is supreme, who is the manifestation of charm and loveliness, who is easily attained. All you got to give her is your love. I guess she's like most women. You pay attention and give love. And she's easily attained. Guys, it's not rocket science. They just need a little love and a little attention. She's easily attained. I think there's a lesson in here for us. Whose color is bright like radiant lac, who is worshipped by those who have good qualities, those who are striving to get good qualities, who is the giver of devotion, who is won by those who shine with devotion, who has an unconquerable plow. In fact, she sows her seeds wherever there's action. She sows the seeds of the fruit of all action. Who is being fanned by Lakshmi and Saraswati, who are clasping a yak's tail in their hands. They've got the chummer, and the fly whisk, which is whisking away the pests of the mind. Knowledge and wealth are serving her. Who is pleased by those who are truly humble, who is the object of all desire, who is the supreme into which all is absorbed, who has obtained all concepts, or all concepts merge into her, who has obtained the essence, who has obtained abundant wealth, who is expressed by Hring, who is expressed by Hrim and other words, who is in the midst of Hrim, who is the ultimate jewel of Hrim, who is the ultimate of the sacrificial fire burning on the altar of Hrim, who is the cooling rays of the moon of Hrim, who is the illuminating rays of the sun of Hrim, who is the inconsistent nature of the heavenly waters of Hrim, who is the new shoot of the lotus of Reem, who is the only end or the last resort of Reem, who is the swan upon the pond of Reem, who is the heron in the garden of Reem, who is the deer in the forest of Reem. Sounds a lot like the Devi Mandir. There are deers and herons and swans and peacocks and katpiro. What do you call that? Katpiro, a chipmunk. Who is the fibers in the creepers of Reem? Who is the parrot in the cage of Reem? Who is the light in the walkway of Reem? Who is the lioness in the cave of Reem? Who is the enjoyment of a bee in the flower of Reem?
Today is a raccoon.
Who is the raccoon in the Devi Mandir of Reem? Who is the honey in the flower of Reem? Who is the flower on the tree of Reem? Boy, she gets around. Nice lady to have around. Sakaratya Samarasa, who is called by the letter Sa, who is the essence equally in all, who is extolled by all the Agama literature. Now the Agamas and the Nigamas, as Agamas were teachings of Shiva to Parvati, and the Nigamas were teachings of Parvati to Shiva. So in Chandi, Parvati sends Shiva as the ambassador, Shiva Duti. And she says, you go tell Shumba and Nishumba, self-conceit and self-deprecation, take a hike. You can't stay here anymore. And she became Shiva Duti for who sends Shiva as her ambassador. And so she is giving the Nigama literature in Chandi, and Shiva gives the Agama literature in Rudrastadhyay or in the Shiva Agamas. Who is the meaning of that? According to Vedanta, Tat Tvam Asi. Who is the place of refuge for existence and non-existence? That's the hymn of the creation in the 129, the 10th mandala of the Rig Veda. Who is all? Who is true existence, consciousness, and bliss? Who is attained through spiritual discipline? Who is the grantor of true existence? Who is meditated upon by Sanak and other Munis? Remember, Sanak had he had 3 brothers. They were the 4 little boys that taught all the rishis and Munis about the nature of God. Who is the mother of the family of the eternal Steve? Who is the form of the supreme ruler of all? Who is the form of truth? Who equally performs all? Who gives birth to the entire existence composed of 5 elements? Shiti Ab Tej Mor Bom. Earth, water, fire, air, and ether, who has no other equal or superior to her, who is most high of all, who is alone without others, who is with quality, Shisagun, who grants fulfillment of all desires, who is expressed by the letter Ka, who is expressed by inspired poetry, who steals away the mind of the Lord of Desire, that's Kameshwar, that's Shiv, who is the pulse of the life of the Lord of Desire, who is seated upon the lap of the Lord of Desire, whose body is embracing the body of the Lord of Desire, who bestows comfort or happiness upon the Lord of Desire, who is the life force of the Lord of Desire, who makes manifest the Lord of Desire, who is the attainment of perfection and purification of the spiritual discipline of the Lord of Desire, who is the beloved mind of the Lord of Desire, who is the ruler of the life force of the Lord of Desire, who thrusts even the Lord of Desire into the ignorance of duality. Remember when Shiva saw Mohini? He forgot that he was Shiva. And he became inflicted upon by desire. who gives the knowledge of non-duality to the Lord of Desire, who is the supreme ruler of the house of the Lord of Desire. Guys, we don't have a chance. If Shiva has a ruler in the house of the Lord of Desire other than Shiva, you better give in quickly. Who brings eternal delight to the Lord of Desire, who is the great supreme ruler of the Lord of Desire, who is the female Lord of Desire, who is the repository of 10 million desires, who grants the objects of desire, who is expressed by the letter La, who is the form to be obtained, who has the mind to be obtained, who has the fulfillment to be obtained, who is impossible of attainment by evil minds, who is impossible of attainment by those possessed of egotism, who has obtained all energy, who has the body to be obtained, who has obtained abundance of the imperishable qualities, who has the intellect to be obtained, who is the divine drama of existence to be obtained, who has obtained the repository of youth, who has the attainment of supreme beauty in all the limbs of her body, who has attained illusion, who has attained the goal of the inner necessity to become. That's a fun one. Aristotle called it entelechy, that inner urge to expand or evolve. There's something in our nature which means makes us, it compels us to evolve to some greater form. Just like we're growing. Even without our desire, you never sat down and thought, well, I think I'm going to grow up now. It just happened naturally. There was an inner urge to become something other than what we were. And that inner urge is the goal of the inner necessity to become something more. We have to evolve. There's a compelling necessity to continually evolve. It's in our genes, even if we wear dresses. Who has attained her Lord, who has attained the circumstances of various scriptures, who has attained enjoyment, who has attained happiness, who has attained the delight which comes from worship. Did we experience that so many times today? That was kind of fun to start the day with the delight of worship and then to continue the day with the delight of worship. And now in the evening we're going to understand the delight of worship. What a way of life. Good job, Mom. Who has attained the delight which comes from worship, who is the image of Hrim, who is the female dove at the top of the palace of Hrim, who is the pure nectar from the ocean of the milk of Hrim, who is Indira, Lakshmi, of the lotus of Hrim, who is the light of the jewel of Hrim, who is the bird in the tree of Hrim, who is the jewel in the box of Hrim, who is the reflection of the ideals of Hrim, who is the long sword within the sheath of Hrim, who dances upon the stage of Hrim, who is the pearl jewel within the oyster of Hrim, who is known by Hrim, who is the statue sculpted in coral on the golden pillar of Hrim, who is the Vedas and the Upanishads of Hrim, who is the honorific gift accompanying the worship of Hrim, who is the delightful, wish-fulfilling creeper in the garden of Hrim, who is the Ganges that flows from the Himalayas of Hrim, who is the precious gem of Vishnu, the Kaustuva in the ocean of Hrim, who is herself all in all of the mantra Hrim, who grants the supreme bliss of Hrim. who grants the supreme bliss of Reem, who grants the supreme bliss of Reem.
We need to become netty.
Well, when you're in the supreme bliss of Reem, you get to be quite netty. And that ends our discussion of the 300 names, these 300 qualities, attributes, characteristics of devotees who are dancing on the stage of Reem and playing in the garden of Reem, along with all the entourage of the Divine Mother in Reem. And she's got deers and peacocks and chipmunks and raccoons and all the devotees of Reem. And here we are dancing on the stage of consciousness in Reem. Remember, Om Aim Hrim Kling Chamundai Viche. Om, the infinite beyond conception. Aim, creation, wisdom, all that is knowable. Ring, the circumstance of all existence. Cling, the transformation of all to perfection. Cha means to move. Mund, in the head or in the paradigm of reality. Vich is the samvit. All that is knowable. Che is Chaitanya, perceived by consciousness. Who are we? We are the consciousness perceiving all that is knowable as the continual transformation of Aim, Ring, Kling on the stage of consciousness, changing itself, moving in the paradigm of reality as perceived by consciousness. That is, she is dancing and we are the audience. And we watch the dance of nature on the stage of consciousness, knowing that at the end we get to applaud her excellent dance and go back to that same center of peace and tranquility. I am not the dancer. I am the witness of the dance of nature, dancing because it's her nature. Dance she must and dance she will because that's her nature. If you say, please don't dance, please don't change, please, I like everything the way it is right now, stop the world, I want to get off, we're destined to be disappointed. Change she will, change she must. It's her nature to change. If we allow her to change and assist her to change and witness her changes, then we remember, I was here when I was a little boy, and I was here when I was a young man, and now I'm getting pretty ancient, and I'm still here. In fact, there's a good chance I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here for a long, long time. And once I realize that, well, can't I just sit in my center and watch her dance? And watch her changes? Because nature changes. The external changed. But I'm still here. Who am I? If I'm the body, then I change as the body changes. And as the circumstance of life change, and I experience pleasure, and I experience pain, and I get excited, and I get depressed. Sorry, Mom. Along with the attitudes of nature, I keep changing. But as soon as I say I am the eternal consciousness, the witness of the changes of nature, this body is of nature, it will change. This soul is of consciousness, and it won't. Where do I choose to focus my attention? On the changes or on the changeless? So long as I stay in the changeless, in the center, in the bhavana, in the attitude, the intensity of reality, where I can conceive myself as the eternal consciousness, one part of the eternal consciousness, then the changes of nature cease to affect me. I just watch, and the witness of all of creation. And I get to watch this body, this instrument, this tool in the hands of the Divine Mother. I can watch this body make its contribution to this world. And when the world is content and accepts the contribution, then I can go back into my center and stay there for as long as, until she needs another contribution. This is the essence of the knowledge of Kali Vidya. We move from the gross body to the subtle body to the causal body and watch the different definitions of Maya. From Maya as illusion, where I'm interacting with the world, thinking it's all so important, to Maya as my privilege to be in union with the one Divine Mother. Let me serve her, become an instrument of her peace. To the one consciousness in harmony with itself. This is the nature of Kali Vidya, Sri Vidya, the knowledge of the highest respect. These 300 names with 300 attributes, with 300 qualities and characteristics that we devotees will want to inculcate into our lives, into the attitude of our lives. They show us the way to dance through life. Just sing the ring wherever you go, and live in the land of ring wherever you may be, and serve her with the love of ring with whatever you do. And that's the message of Lalita Trishati.
Nice.
Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Let's see if there are any questions before we go on to more applications of the divine names. Sure.
To the path of this, to the path of the changeless, you said many worship many.
Yes.
Many worship one and one worship one. Are these step by step, or you could go?
Yes. No, all these are step by step. It's necessary to work from the Sthula Sarir to the Shukshma Sarir to the Karan Sarir. So we have 36 principles of Tantra, and they start with 5 organs of action. You have to control the 5 organs of action, which means you have to sit in an asana. You have to sit still. Every movement of the body is a reflection of the movement of the mind. So we have to train ourselves and practice to make our body sit still. And that is in the gross body. So we are dealing with the Maya of Shankya. We are with the many, dealing with the many. Here I have different parts, 5 organs of action, upper appendages, lower appendages, tongue, reproductive organ, and anus. These 5 I gotta control. Now, there's one of me, and there's 5 of them, and I'm here and interacting with all of you, and here is the many dealing with the many. And when I get control over those 5, I can bring my senses inside and go to work on the Gyanendriyas. I have 5 Gyanendriyas, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. No, yeah, I said nose, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Okay, so don't get nosy with me. So there are 5 organs of knowledge. They bring the outside world inside. So now I'm going to control them. And now I move to the Panch Mahabhut and the Panch Tanmatras, and then I have earth, water, fire, air, ether. I see that they are the constituent elements of all existence, and the perceptions of sight, sound, rasa, rupa, chagandhichas, sabde, sparsha, yogini. They are the taste, smell, sight, sound, and feel. So now I put those 20 into harmony, I get to go inside. Now I'm in the subtle body, in the Maya of Tantra. So I move from the Maya of Shankya, the Maya of duality, the many dealing with the many, to the Maya of Tantra, where the many dealing with the one. Here I am, separate entity, and I'm coming closer to the Divine Mother. I'm inside now. I'm not outside, I'm inside. It's like the feeling that we had at the end of the Chandi. totally inside. Just that vibration, vibrating and circulating and encompassing, embodying us, enclosing us in the womb of Spandana, of vibrations. We were just totally encapsulated in that bhavana, where she looks you in the eye and says, you don't want to look anywhere else. Do you? Does anything else interest you in this world? Once you look her in the eye, that's it. Doesn't take her a long time. She's easily attained. All you have to do is pay attention. Guys, give her your love and your devotion and pay attention. She's easily attained. And then we move from that unity of Tantra to the Maya Vedanta, Aham Brahmasmi, Shivoham. We go beyond the duality into Nirvikalpa, beyond any kalpana. No idea. There's not a second idea, it's only unity. So it is a progression. Yeah, I don't think anyone skips a step. Not in sadhana and not in your desire. Everybody, somebody told me we should take the ninth form of, we were talking about Ashtanga yoga, that you should take the ninth form of yoga and skip all the steps. I don't see how you do that. I see that we make a progression. You put your body in harmony, put your breath in harmony, put your mind in harmony, and then you put your soul into the harmony. There's a progression. There's a path. There's something we can do. Yes, we can. Please.
We have a question from Ambika
Namaste, Ambika.
about name 168 on page 205. I think it's who destroys duality instantly.
All right. And what's your question?
Many times we read that saying a name, reading a mantra will instantly destroy duality, remove darkness, and many other wonderful things. How are we to interpret this, and how do we accomplish this?
Well, you pay attention to the name, and you pay attention to the Baba, and you pay attention to the vibration, and Ambika, all of a sudden, instantly, all duality ceases to exist for the time that you maintain your attention. Now please, don't shift your focus. Don't change your idea. But if you stay in that idea, so long as you stay there, so long you will be removed from duality. Now, if you forget about the unity, then you go back to the duality. But so long as you can maintain that, so long as you can maintain that communion with that mantra, mantrayate iti mantra, that which takes away your mind. So if you're trying to blow your mind, then you get focused into the mantra and you lose your mind. And please don't ask for it back. Be content to be there with a blown mind and stay in the unity of that communion. So instantly, for as long as it lasts.
I have a question about name 277.
Yes, please.
It says, who has attained the circumstance of various scriptures.
Yes.
What does that mean?
What are the various scriptures telling us? Aren't they giving us all an illustration of what rishis and munis and great wise beings did throughout history in order to achieve communion with God? Each one of them is a history of the story of the rishi who did tapasya, he did sadhana, he did this puja, he called God to come. God came and said, what do you want? And the rishi said, I want you. And God said, Amastu. That's what the scriptures are. Every one of the scriptures is a roadmap of how some beings in history, and many scriptures are many beings in history. It's an anthology, a collection of how many different ways different people used to achieve communion with God. Who attained the circumstance of all scriptures, or the perfection of all scriptures, is quite obvious on its face. What do? Why are you reading a scripture? It was handed down from guru to disciple through thousands of years. They said, memorize this. It was Shruti before they had writing. They just memorized it. They heard it, they wrote it, they wrote it down thousands of years later. They passed it down from guru to disciple. Why was it important? Because it was the way by which people went to God. That's the only reason you study Scripture. Why would you call it, this is Scripture, it's to be revered, it's a holy book, keep it in the temple, study it every day, do the puja? Why would you do that if it wasn't important to us? These were great wise beings of history, of antiquity. We've got from guru to disciple for thousands of years this knowledge has come down to us. What's the purpose of using it? Why study it? Why read the book? Because it tells us what they did to achieve what we want to achieve. We call them rishis, great, wise, illuminated beings who lived in peace and lived in harmony and lived in communion with God. Why else would you study it? So that's the reason. If you achieve the circumstance of the Scriptures, you've achieved your goal. Why are you studying this? Why are you practicing it? Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhitasanam. You're hearing it, you're contemplating it, you're studying it, you're deeply, deeply meditating upon the meanings. How do they apply to your life? How do they apply to all of our lives? What else would we do with the Scripture? Why would we build a temple? As a monument to the Scriptures. And we built the temple, we asked the gods and goddesses to make themselves manifest in the image described in the Scriptures. Because these wise beings from antiquity who achieved communion with God said these were the forms that we saw in our meditations and in our communion with godliness. And this is the meaning of each mudra and each instrument and each weapon in their hands and each posture and each expression on their faces. That's why you should study this. Because it's going to inspire you to the most noble pursuits. You're going to become mukti pradayini. You'll become efficient in this world. You'll become enjoyer of all the delights that you choose to enjoy, and you'll achieve self-realization. That's why. That's just what they said. And then they said, okay, you guys memorize this. And pass it down to your disciples ad infinitum. Don't let it be destroyed. Don't let it be lost. We're calling anybody who's memorized one of these scriptures a Brahmin, a knower of Brahman, a knower of God. And wherever a Brahmin goes, because he's got a head and a heart full of scripture and full of verse and full of wisdom and full of inspiration, we're instructing the rest of the world, please respect that Brahmin. Please learn from them, feed them, give them whatever they need so they can continue to propagate this wisdom. Why else would you give dakshina to a Brahmin? Why else would you give respect to someone who can show you how to do puja? Because it's useful to you. You want to protect this dharma, this highest ideal of perfection, so that you can take the same journey when you're ready. Now, these are the tools. And that's why they call them shastra. They're the weapons by which we annihilate the ignorance. We annihilate our attachments that bring us pain and make us do stupid things for which we regret. And then we're depressed because we're regretting that I did a stupid thing because of my foolish attachment. Instead, let me use the scriptures as my guide and make myself a plan and define my goal and make myself the criteria which actions will take me where I want to go and which ones are going to take me away from the goal. And now, which ones will I do? It's my choice. Each one of us is empowered to make the choice, but at least now we have the knowledge. We have the criteria. I'm not going to make the choice for you. Obviously, some of you were inspired to drive up here into the wilderness and come up and sit on the top of a mountain with a couple of meditating bogies. But these are your choices. We're empowering you to make the choice, and the scriptures give you the criteria. They show you the examples of who did it before us. What did they get when they did it? What did they ask for when she came to them and said, what do you want? What's your goal? And the wise businessman said, I just want wisdom. I want to live with you. That's the fruit of the scriptures. And that's why we study the scriptures. That's why we live with the scriptures. That's why we recite the scriptures. We chant the scriptures. We breathe the scriptures. We inhale them and we exhale them, and we use them as the method of our pranayama. Because it's a living, breathing tradition. And it works. If you live according to these definitions, if you inhale them, if you exhale them, if you desire them, contemplate them, study them, focus your life around them, build your plan around what the scriptures are telling you, these are important qualities, then you'll have a successful life. And not just successful in the eyes of your peers. Who cares about them? Successful in the eyes of God. Successful in the eyes of your elders. Successful in the eyes of the gurus. That would be a greater achievement. So we're striving for that success. And that's called siddhi. That attainment of success is siddhi love. The attainment of success. And that's why we study the scriptures. So who gives us the fruits or the circumstances of the scriptures? It's a very big name.
We have a question from Sharanya.
Namaste, Sharanya.
Pranam. One of the names says that Lalita is easily attained by her devotees. Can you elaborate this? How is she more easily attained than other forms of the goddess like Durga or Lakshmi or Saraswati?
Well, remember that she's served by Durga and Lakshmi and Saraswati. She's served by all the gods and goddesses. So they're all one. And they're all different names for each other. But she is easily attained. All you got to do is love her to the exclusion of delusion. You're not allowed to have any delusion. No attachment. No misplaced attention. You want to focus your attention to the optimum efficiency. Sadhu means efficient. So she's easily attained. All you got to do is pay attention. When we pay attention, we can see immediately what behaviors are appropriate and what is inappropriate. And now, do I want to be in trouble? Or do I want to achieve my objective? That's the only question we need to ask. I know what's correct and I know what's incorrect. I know right from wrong. Now, what do I want to get? Am I invested in this with my ego? Or am I invested with my soul? That's the only question we need to ask. As soon as we understand that the investment is with our soul, then I don't want to be right. I want to be in harmony. I want to achieve union. I want to focus my attention. I want to love her. So she's easily attained. Yes, please.
I have a question about name 134.
Yes,
It
please.
says, who thrusts all into ignorance.
Yes,
Why would she want to do this?
Oh, just to see who loves her. She gives us so many little tests. She is Maya, and she's the Maya of Kailarim, Hasakahalarim, Sakalarim. She's all the kinds of Maya. So she's the Maya of illusion as well, the many looking to the many. And then there I am in the ignorance. I just saw many instead of seeing her everywhere. I forgot that I'm looking at another form of the Divine Mother in every form I see. Now that in itself is ignorance, and that's why she does it. Actually, we do it to ourselves. We get caught up in our own little ego game and think that I am the center of the universe and I am the most important being in my life. And I cultivate all of these attachments that go along with my ego identity, and I see the many from the point of view of the many and say, what's in it for me? Instead of thinking, wow, how do I evolve a greater harmony and a greater unity and a greater clarity because of my focus of attention? How do I love her so much that she wants to love me back? I think that would be the more appropriate question. In every form of creation we look at, in every perception, how do I love her so much that she is compelled to pay attention to me in the same way I pay attention to her?
What is going on?
Oh, I can't tell you. I'm just hoping to be successful. I'm just hoping and praying that one day I will be successful.
You are.
Namaste. See, guys, she's easily attained. Did you see how easily she's attained? All you got to do is focus your attention and love her so that she knows that there's no one else that's more important, and she will bless you with the fulfillment and the culmination of all your objectives. Just perfectly easily illustrated. She is the example. She is. And that's after 40 years.
We have a question from Nanda.
Namaste, Nandama.
You know so much better than us, and you see us making mistakes all the time,
All the time.
even after you give us the benefit of your wisdom. Can you tell us from your experience what is the best way to impart advice so that it is taken in the right spirit and accept it graciously, and accept graciously when the advice is not taken?
No. I haven't done it successfully. If I were successful, you would have taken the advice and not made the same silly mistake that you make again and again and again. But when I love you and when you love me, then we want to work together for the upliftment of us both. And we have to continually remind each other that our only goal is how do we maintain our harmony? How do we maintain our unity till we work together in harmony? Doesn't matter whether we win or we lose or it's a draw or we scored or we got the deal or we didn't get the deal. It just doesn't matter at all. If we're not in harmony, it doesn't make a bit of difference. The harmony and the unity is what creates the bond between us, and that bond is the most important criteria. That's the goal. Siva and Shakti revolve around each other mutually and reciprocally. Please be mutual and be reciprocal and appreciate all the advice everyone wants to give us, because we only want to come into communion. And if our communion is really successful, then we'll be successful in everything we do. And if we are not successful in our communion, it doesn't matter if you made the best deal or you made the worst deal or you won the game or you didn't win the game. It doesn't make any difference, because the harmony is the most important. So when we want to give advice, then just remember what kind of a place of love from which we're making that offering. With what attitude are we making that offering? With what, are we insisting? Or are we just going to say, hey, you know, this might be in your better interest? Might be. You will make that decision yourself, but don't shut me out of your harmony. That's the most important thing to me, is to maintain the harmony, the unity between us.
We have a question from Kantananda.
Namaste, Kanta!
Will you say more about the word inconsistent in name 208, who is the inconsistent nature of the heavenly waters of Hrim? I think of inconsistency as something that can create some confusion.
Well, if it's inconsistent, it's constantly changing. And if it's constantly changing, it's part of the nature. And if it's part of the nature, it's part of the Maya. And so she is the inconsistent nature of the heavenly waters of Hrim. And it's all divine, and it all comes from heaven, and it's constantly changing. Om Eng Ring Kling Chamundai Biche. It's just changing, changes her nature, and it's the nature of change is inconsistency. And if you become consistent, Kanta, if you maintain your center, if you keep your bhavana with you, if you don't let any of the circumstances of life move you or dissuade you from your divine knowledge, then you become consistent in the midst of all this inconsistency. You become the Chaitanya, the consciousness which perceives the Samvit, the Vich, all that is knowable as the continual evolution of Aim, Ring, Kleem, Kamkala. All the threes are constantly coming into existence, having a moment in time, and then changing into something else. And you become the perceiver of the changes of nature, of the inconsistencies in nature. You are the consistent one watching the inconsistent nature. And I believe that's the inconsistency that they're talking about. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste.